Hey everybody, welcome to this week's edition of Movies with the Hunks. I am one of your hosts, Steve Funbuns. With me is Johnny Lightning. What's up, man?
Not much. Hey, you know what day it is?
Thursday.
Yes.
What's that mean?
That means it's back to the movies.
And here we are. Everyone loves watching movies on a weekend. That's why we do this every Saturday. We bring to you the latest discussion in whatever film we watch. Last week we did a bad movie. Wink. Bad movie. Kung Fury. Go watch that movie right now if you haven't seen that before. But this week we're going to talk about a movie that's been out for a couple weeks at this point, but it's probably the biggest movie in America at the moment. And that is...
Marvel Civil War. Captain America Civil War. I'm always going to do that. I love it. I love it so much. One of the most highly anticipated movies right now. If you are a superhero movie fan, period, even if you aren't, go out and see this movie.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's just fun. And it has a plot that works. There's so many characters. This movie is going to be the springboard. It's the new gold standard for all these new superhero movies that have so many heroes, how to make them mesh together. They do it in such a great way. Whether it be a character that's been there from the beginning like Iron Man, or whether it's a relatively new character like the Black Panther or SpiderMan, two new heroes they introduced into this movie, as well as having all these other characters from all their previous movies. So they've done a very, very good job.
They have. Now, before we get any further, I do want to remind the viewer, if you have not seen Captain America Civil War and are afraid of spoilers, we are going to be discussing some of the biggest spoilery plots of the movie. So if you haven't done that yet, and if you're not interested in hearing any spoilers at all, just go ahead and tune out now.
That's right.
But the rest of you, I hope you enjoy what we're about to get into. Now, John!
Yes.
Team Cap or Team Iron Man? Go.
Team Cap! Iron Man is a monster.
He is a monster. I love that question because that's a really fun way to just kind of banter with your friends.
Oh, it is.
It's like a really nerdy argument that doesn't mean anything, but it also can tell you a lot about a person.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got somebody who's really more sensible and they're worldly, they have a very broad view of right and wrong, of course they're going to be Team Cap. Where if you've got the brash young people who act first, think later, they're going to be Team Iron Man. Of course, I'm just spouting out nonsense right now. But it's a fun argument because I know there are people who are Team Iron Man right now that are like, what? This is crap. I'm not going to watch any more of this. It's all in good fun. To have the conversation with your friends. I guarantee you'll have a great time arguing over something after you finally see the movie. Doesn't really even matter.
Now, the main argument within the movie that causes the rift between Iron Man and Captain America is whether or not the Avengers should join the... They should answer to the UN. There's a thing called the Soviet Accords where they have to sign, and essentially they are being reined in by the governments of the world. They can't just go out and save the world like they do. They will be a controlled arm of some sort of government agency.
Instead of them being criticized on their own, they're only going to act on behalf of this government organization. So if they believe they need to be somewhere, they're going to get sent somewhere. Even if there's something going on over here, it doesn't matter. It's like, hey, you're going here, you're doing this. Now, it's great because on the one side, you think like, okay, that's cool. It's like the Army. You know what? They're just following orders. They're not the ones that are held responsible. They're not accountable. They're just sent there because that's what is supposed to be, quote unquote, right. However, as Cap clearly says, I'm sorry, Tony. If I see a situation going south, I can't look the other way.
It's a bullseye Steve Rogers. It's a bullseye Steve Rogers right there. And that's a really neat thing that I think this movie, I mean, beyond the many characters that we're supposed to know and care about in this movie, there's a lot going into the movie from previous films.
Yes.
Specifically, Avengers: Age of Ultron and Captain America: Winter Soldier, where you get you completely understand where both these characters are coming from. Even the more minor characters, you understand why these characters feel the way they do,
why they're picking the sides the way they pick.
Yeah, and everything feels natural, and it's a test to the writers and directors of this film. That even
to the point where when Black Widow was standing in between Cap and Bucky from getting on the ship and leaving, she even says like, you know what? I'm going to hold him back. She switches, her perception changes because she was a longtime friend of Cap. And she knows what she's doing is going to get her captured and put in the brig, but she's realized, like, okay, they've got to do what they've got to do. They've got to stay out of their way.
Because, I mean, and when you really think about it, so Iron Man wants to sign the Sokovia Accords. He wants the Avengers to be held accountable for their actions. Captain America doesn't believe so. He thinks that if they're he believes that agendas can change, that organizations can be manipulated, and he doesn't want the Avengers to fall to the same.
And he says, if we sign this accord, we give up our right to choose.
Yep.
We cannot choose to do what we think is right. We are doing things that we may believe to be wrong, which they might be fighting wars.
I mean, if you answer to a guy like Ross, you're probably going to be doing a lot of things that are wrong.
On today's agenda, kill the Hulk.
That's the first thing the Avengers are going to do. We got to find that Hulk, and we got to kill him.
We got to kill him?
Where are we at on that superhero concentration camp that's under the sea?
The one that's not technically in American waters, so it's kind of like our own Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah.
No human rights whatsoever.
Didn't Tony Stark help build that? He's a monster.
Yeah. And there's a scene in the movie right at the end where Tony's, after the airport scene all together, he was like, I've got to go out there, I've got to get him. And he said, well, you're lucky you're not in here with them.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Because that guy. And you understand where Tony's coming from as well, because in all of the Iron Man movies, Tony Stark has battled individuals.
Right.
His enemies are guys who work outside the law, or they're working on their own to achieve something. All of Captain America's enemies are parts of giant organizations. You had, essentially he fought 2 movies of Hydra.
Shield and Hydra.
The first movie was him against the Nazi sect of Hydra. The second movie was Hydra taking over Shield, a company that Captain America worked with and for. So he understands firsthand that, these sort of organizations can be corrupted, and you understand why he does the way he does the things he does. But let's talk about some of the more new characters. The one that I really want to get into is, let's talk about Black Panther. Because this is a character that not a lot of people, the mainstream audience, they're not completely familiar with him. But they do a great job of kind of giving him an origin story of his own within Captain America's own movie. It's pretty impressive.
In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as is stated in this movie for Civil War, there is a nation, a hyper-technologically advanced nation known as Wakanda. It was talked about briefly in Age of Ultron and alluded.
They were at Wakanda.
They were at Wakanda, and they explained that is pretty much the sole area where all the deposits of vibranium around the world are. So they've got the vibranium technology. It's implied that, it's never said, but it's implied that vibranium is incorporated into the Black Panther suit, which is we see it bulletproof. He gets shot by...
That thing doesn't even move
he
when
doesn't
he gets hit
flinch.
by the bullets. He's just like, oh,
yeah, he
hey,
just
what?
stands there and takes it. Hey, what's up? But it's great because it's ruled by a king, T'Challa's father. And as you find out, he used to be the Black Panther himself. It's something that gets passed down from father to son. After his father dies, T'Challa takes up the mantle of Black Panther, and his sole mission is to go after Bucky. Great motivation.
Oh, I thought he was already the Black Panther when his father died. His father had already given it up.
Oh, he had already given it up. That's correct.
Because he was kind of old.
Yeah. He was too old.
But he was on a great... His character arc was really good. He starts off trying to get vengeance for his father that's killed. Framed by Bucky. They frame the entire bombing at the UN around the Winter Soldier.
Yes. So
they're after him, and he's hell-bent on bringing Bucky to justice, and that's why he joins Team Iron Man.
Yeah.
Because obviously Bucky's on Cap's side of things.
Whereas Cap is saying, like, you know what, Bucky, he says he didn't do it. I'm going to help my friend. Those guys after him, they're going to kill him unless I try to help bring him in peacefully or help him escape, in which case he gets captured as well. Mm-hmm. And that is when the lines, I think, are officially drawn.
Oh, yeah. And his character arc, his arc is very much parallel to the villain of the film, Baron Zemo. Well, he's not technically a baron in this film, is he? No. He's just a guy. But Zemo has also... He has suffered personal loss. He blames on the Avengers. His family died in the tragedy at Sokovia.
Such a great way to do it, too, because he's constantly listening to voicemails. You don't realize they're voicemails from his family before they died in Sokovia, which I thought was really good. You only find that out at the end. And then finally, at the end, you see Black Panther's character come full circle where he's like, you know what? Vengeance, this is the cycle has got to stop.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to put an end to it. And he prevents Zemo from killing himself, which I thought was great. And he feels bad. And then at the end, helps Captain America and everybody else, which I thought was great. But really quick, Steve, let's discuss 2 scenes of the movie, and then we'll give our thoughts. I say the airport scene and the end of the movie.
Before we do that, though, John, I really want to get into Spider-Man.
How can we forget about that guy?
I don't know how you can forget about Spider-Man. So he was also introduced into this movie. Obviously, Spider-Man, we've seen a bunch of other Spider-Man movies before, but none of them have been under the official MCU house. And this is the first time we get to see the MCU version of Spider-Man played by Tom Holland. And he's a much younger Spider-Man than normally that we see in the movies. He's much more like the comic book character of Spider-Man. He's clearly a teenager. He's not a 30-year-old man like we've seen in the past. I mean, Tobey Maguire, you're not kidding me. He ain't
Tobey
17.
Maguire, you weren't a college student in Spider-Man 3. Come on.
I mean, I love you, Tobey Maguire. I love your Spider-Man movies, but you ain't fooling anybody. You ain't a teenager. But what did you think about Tom Holland as Spider-Man?
Loved it. Most accurate representation of the character that's ever been portrayed for me in the comics. Because
100%.
Spider-Man is a kid. He's a nerdy little kid who has real problems. And I mean, he's not a cool kid in school. He's got real actual problems. He's doing his own thing. He's not incredibly confident, but he is very much so wisecracking. Yeah, so, I mean, all the jokes, everything he said, it felt like that was the truest version of Spider-Man I've ever seen on the silver screen. Did such a great job. Incredibly excited in anticipation for his solo film, which will be released by Marvel the MCU studios.
At some point, yeah. I'm just very happy that we didn't have to suffer through another Spider-Man origin story.
Oh, yeah.
Tony asked him, like, hey, why do you do this? And instead of going into this long spiel about
power and responsibility.
How with great power comes great responsibility, he just said, like, it's a long story. I just want to help the little guy, which I was like, whew, thank God. I don't need to see that
We didn't
again.
need another 20 minutes of that. No. All right, cool. Hey, join me, kid. We'll get you a new suit. You get out of the onesie.
Yeah, I'm glad that Tony Stark builds the suit. I think that's kind of a neat little callback to Tony Stark building the Iron Spider suit.
Which was cool.
I still want to see the Iron Spider, but, I do like that little kind of the little Easter egg, I guess.
That was cool.
But let's talk about the penultimate fight in the
airport scene.
The airport scene. I'm going to go on record, John.
Yep.
The airport scene where Team Captain America and Team Iron Man face off, maybe the single greatest comic book movie action sequence in the history of time. At least it's my favorite.
It's pretty
I love
incredible. That. I mean, when you think about all the different moments it stands out because I think what this one has all the others is that it is so fun. And there are so many moments.
Yeah, I love it for so many reasons. Like you said, it's a lot of fun. It looks cool. The action's well handled. But it also has a lot of character development within the action scenes. You get to know who the characters are, how they're fighting. You get to see little connections between the two. I love Hawkeye and Black Widow are fighting, and she's like, "We're still friends, right?" And he's like, "It depends on how hard you hit me." And then Scarlet Witch throws her away, and it's like, you're pulling your punches, because they don't really want to hurt each other because they're good friends. And Spider-Man's banter back and forth.
Well, he's fighting Falcon, and who else is he fighting?
Bucky.
Oh, he's fighting Bucky,
yeah,
which I thought was really funny.
You've got a metal arm?
That's so cool.
That's so cool.
And then finally they get webbed up, and then Falcon's robotic hawk drone, what's it called? I can't remember.
Red Wing,
that's right. Takes him out, and then when Bucky looks over him, he's like, "You couldn't have done that right at the beginning.
I hate you so much."
I hate you so much.
And then there's that really great moment where Captain America meets Spider-Man, and Spider-Man's saying how, like, "Oh, Mr. Stark said you would say that," and you get this idea
and that's what makes you dangerous.
Yeah,
you believe it.
And then of course there's like, "Where you from, kid? You got heart." Brooklyn. Well, I'm from Queens. But you get this, like, it's a very small exchange. It's probably maybe like not even a minute long, but you get the idea that if Peter Parker had been around longer, he would have definitely been on Cap's side.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a respect there, like a maturity that Cap has that says like, hey, this kid's got heart, like I did when I was young. You know, he's doing something that he believes in, even though what he believes in might not be the best thing, or what Cap thinks is right. You know, he still respects him as a hero.
And you've got Black Panther, like he's the one really, you could tell he's really trying to do some damage. He's trying to get to somebody because he's on that vengeful quest like we mentioned earlier. Vision's just Vision, you get the idea that he could just mop the floor with everyone if he wanted to, but he's more there to kind of like...
He's doing like crowd control.
Yeah.
Like damage control. He's like, he doesn't want to see it get out of hand. He's like, people are trying to hit him. He's going translucent, and he's like, you know, you can't do anything to me, but, you know, can't do anything against that Scarlet Witch.
No, those are the two impact players on each team. Speaking of impact players, though, let's talk about Ant-Man being the bomb, stealing the show. So everyone's always made fun of Ant-Man. Like, what's Ant-Man going to do? But you can tell that Ant-Man versus Iron Man, which people would assume is a lopsided fight, is really not.
No.
Ant-Man was able to shrink down. Oh, and we got to see the arrow shot. Oh, my God. Let's
go! Fire away, Hawkeye!
I'm a huge Ant-Man fan. I made an Ant-Man film a couple years ago, and I have that comic book cover where he's shooting him off Hawkeye's arrow. But he goes into Tony's suit and sabotages it. Yep. This is your conscience. We haven't spoken in a while. And then he becomes Giant Man shortly after that, and he's just wrecking shop.
And it's so great, and it's so funny because he's grabbing people, he's laughing,
he's reveling in the moment.
Oh gosh, yeah. It's a really fun thing. Just so many great moments.
You get to understand Tony and Rhodey's friendship a little bit more because they're having really good quips to each other, like "get off my Rhodey," that type of thing.
Yeah. In the end, where Cap and Bucky escape, Black Widow lets them go because she understands. You know, hey, she's got a great respect for Cap and believes what he's doing potentially is right, and she holds off. Who is it? Is it
Black
Vision?
Panther?
Yeah, Black Panther.
Because Black Panther is doing everything he can to get to Bucky.
To kill Bucky. He wants to kill Bucky, which is great.
And that fight scene really is interesting because you have this like big, bombastic, loud, funny, fight scene in like the middle of the movie, and then the final fight scene.
A lot more serious.
It's more serious. It's a lot more personal, but it's also not forced because. Now, at that point, Tony Stark's trying to, like, legit beat up Bucky and Cap.
I think he's
but
trying
for a good reason from his point of view. Which you come to find out that Baron Zemo has been pulling the strings like a puppet master. And Bucky, again, spoiler alert, so Bucky apparently killed the Stark parents.
In a pretty gruesome manner.
Yeah.
A pretty gruesome manner. What? He shoots Papa Stark in the head?
He punches him in the face with his steel arm.
And he chokes he chokes out Mama Stark until she dies.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And it's all seen in front of Stark at the very end of the movie, which I'm so glad they did because they made it out to be, we got to kill these 4 super soldiers that are out of control, and I'm like...
Because you're thinking that Zemo's going to reactivate these super winter soldiers.
And they're going to destroy the world, but thankfully they didn't, because I was like, those seem really bland, especially after this awesome fight we had at the airport.
And that's also like very much like a stereotypical comic book movie, like, oh, this guy, he just wants to get the powers.
But I think what really solidifies it is just all the commentary in between the characters. Like, Tony sees it, he's crushed. He looks at Cap and he says, "Did you know?"
And
Cap's like, "Well, don't you bullshit me, Cap. Did you know?" Yes. And then he just goes ballistic.
They start fighting.
Just goes ballistic. I mean,
Tony's trying to murder Winter Soldier.
He is trying to kill.
Doing everything he can to stop his friend from killing his other friend.
Yeah. Because
he knows, A, Bucky is an innocent victim just as much as anyone else.
Yeah.
And B, Tony, if Tony actually killed a guy, Tony probably wouldn't be able to live with himself, even if even if Tony thinks that's what he wants at that moment.
Yeah.
He really doesn't want that, and Captain's trying to save him from that.
Oh gosh.
Even if that means ruining their friendship in the process.
beautifully choreographed fights. I mean, in the trailer you see it, the exchange between Captain America and Bucky, where they're bouncing the shield off of Iron Man, beating him down, is great until one of them gets knocked away, and Bucky tries to pull out his arc reactor and ends up getting his arm blown off by a unibeam.
Unibeam!
Crazy. And then Cap goes to try and save him, and they have this crazy fight, and then Tony whips out, let's study his moves. We're going to kick his ass. Okay, computer. And that starts happening. I'm like, holy shit, okay. Yeah. That's new. And then finally he gets to the point to where Cap is finally beating him down to try and save Bucky. And literally he gets to that one last shot where he's got the shield up and Tony's covering his face because he thinks it's coming down and he's going to be losing a head. But it comes down on his arc reactor and shuts off his armor. Mm-hmm. It's just such a great ending.
Yeah, and then you have Cap and Bucky walking away and Tony yelling, "You don't deserve that shield. My dad made that shield.
That belongs to me." And then he just drops it.
He drops it.
And just leaves
that was probably the saddest. For me, that was really heartbreaking to see Tony Stark like, "My dad made that. You don't deserve it." Just because it's like one of those things where like you understand where each guy is coming from. Yeah. And, Steve Rogers knows like, you know what? He's right. He's right. So that's pretty much it. Do you have any final thoughts about the whole ordeal?
Great movie. Loved post-credit scene with them in Wakanda. Mm-hmm. Loved the other scene where they rescue everybody out of the raft prison.
Yeah,
which is great.
Yeah,
that's definitely setting up the Infinity War. That's going to happen. Tony Stark gets a phone and a letter from Cap saying like, "Hey, I understand everything that's happened has happened, but if you ever need us, just give us a call."
Yep.
And they're hiding out in Wakanda with Black Panther. Black Panther is doing what he thinks is penance. He's helping them out. He's trying to help the Winter Soldier, and they put the Winter Soldier back on ice because he feels like he's still a threat. He feels.
Bucky feels like he's the threat because he can't control what Hydra did to him. Yeah. Black Panther was able to see through Zemo that vengeance can consume you, and that he was able to finally recognize that it wasn't Bucky's fault. He was a victim in it just as well. It was an amazing movie. The Russo brothers, fantastic job balancing all these different characters and storylines. I can see why they have been chosen to direct Avengers Infinity Wars Part 1 and 2, which apparently are getting new titles.
Good.
Yeah.
Give them their own titles.
So you love it. I love it. Go see it.
Go see it.
Before we go, John, do you have any thoughts on where this leaves the MCU? Where do we go from here? Because
this is great. This is
between now and the next Avengers movie. What movies are coming out? We got Black Panther movie, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man and Wasp.
Maybe. I think yes. I'm not sure. But in all honesty,
Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah. I think the Black Panther movie, this is all speculation, is going to be more of an origin story. Mm-hmm. And maybe it'll do like a fast forward to like maybe his own solo adventure. Obviously, it's not going to be with him right after Civil War. It'll probably show him like defending his country, a little bit more of Wakanda, which is great because I feel like that's a place I want to know a lot more about.
Yeah,
like,
Wakanda's really cool.
You've got this isolationist country in the world that is very secretive, but they're hyper advanced with their technology. Mm-hmm. Doctor Strange is going to be his own story, his own character. Ant-Man and Wasp. If that does happen in this phase before this movie,
how do you think that'll play out? Because technically, he just gets broken out of prison by Steve Rogers.
I'm thinking he will probably go home because he will want to see his daughter, and he'll join back up with the Wasp, and they'll go on their own little adventure. Because Pym, I'll make a prediction. I think Hank Pym's probably going to die in the next movie.
Shut your mouth,
just saying,
John.
That's probably what it.
Shut your mouth.
He might be really sick, and that might be what tears him away from the rest of the Avengers. No, it's okay. It's just an idea. They're not.
I'll cry.
They don't know.
If you're listening, Kevin Feige, don't kill Hank Pym. I love Hank Pym.
Let's see here. I mean, after that, then it just sets it up. But I love where it's left. It's not a happy ending, really. No. It's great.
It's pretty amazing how all the Captain America movies in particular seem to end in a way that completely changes up the MCU in a way that not a lot of the other superhero movies do. Like, none of the Iron Man movies really shook up the universe.
No.
In fact, some of the Iron Man movies end in a way, and then by the next movie, it's like, oh, you know all those suits I destroyed? I'm over it.
Yeah. Yeah, I told Pepper in Iron Man 3 I wasn't going to wear or in Age of Ultron I was done. But, well, I got another suit because I can't stop, and, well,
I made a bunch of police armor.
We're off again, yeah. I think going into Infinity Wars or whatever they decide to call it, we're going to see everybody.
Mm-hmm. I
think we're going to see more superheroes in this movie than we ever have on the silver
pretty much
ever.
I think they actually confirmed that, like, they're all in it.
I think we're going to get to see everybody we saw in this movie, plus Guardians of the Galaxy. Probably have
Daredevil.
No.
Jessica Jones.
No.
Luke Cage, Iron Fist.
No. They're going to be the Defenders. They're doing their own thing. They're defending New York.
They're defending.
Why Spider-Man is not defending? Well, because Spider-Man's cool.
Yeah.
He's a kid.
If
he tried to go into the Defenders, they'd be like, get out of here. Go back and...
He's not some D-lister like
Yeah.
Iron Fist. Just kidding. Iron Fist is awesome.
He is. But no, it'll be interesting. I think they'll probably try and go in, and it might be another alien invasion, might not be, but Iron Man will probably try and lead whatever team he has, and they're completely overwhelmed, and then he'll have to call Cap, and then hey, Hulk's back, Thor's back. Thor's another thing. Thor is an interesting thing because here's a big spoiler. You guys might want to. This might spoil part of Ragnarok, but Thor technically dies in Ragnarok. That storyline.
Like in the comics?
Yeah. I don't think that they're going to do that because I'm pretty sure he'll be in.
They could pull a Batman Superman and kill Thor and then just bring him back to
bring
life.
him back. They could do that. Spoiler for Batman and Superman.
Yeah.
But
a very similar movie that's
they could
not nearly as good.
Maybe finally kill Odin because they fake killed him off in both Thor movies.
Yeah.
They could maybe kill Loki.
That'd be sad.
That would be sad, but I think
I'm still wanting that Loki redemption arc. He gets his revenge on Thanos.
But it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. These movies are all fun, but you know what? This movie stands on its own.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Well, thank you so much, John, for being with me today. I love talking geek comic book stuff with you. Thank you, listener, for joining us on this episode of Movies with Hunks. Make sure to go down at the bottom, click subscribe, click like, comment, let us know what you thought of the movie. Are you Team Cap? Are you Team Iron Man?
We want to know.
Are you Team It's Complicated? Let us know. But that's it from us. Love you, bye!